How's it going? It's Nathan Hawken. Welcome to the video. The difference between good coaching and transformational coaching isn't necessarily what happens in the sessions themselves. It's actually what happens between the sessions. And most coaches tend to miss this very powerful tool to use to help your clients create massive change. In over a decade worth of coaching experience working with former Olympic athletes, banking executives, CEOs, business owners, and other coaches as well, I've discovered that the clients who transform fastest, they aren't always the ones that have the most insights during the sessions themselves. They're the ones that leave each session with a specific assignment that can help them practice new patterns and implement them in their actual life. Now, we think transformation alone happens through conversation and insight. And yes, that's partly true. But what I've learned is that insight without integration is just very expensive therapy. Real change happens when clients have a structured way to apply the new patterns in between your sessions. So today I wanted to share with you why strategic homework assignments for your clients are the secret weapon for transformational coaches, and how to design tasks that accelerate progress in your clients instead of creating additional burden for them. But first, let's go over some of those surface level type of stories that you may be telling yourself as a coach. And these are stories which I've told myself before, which have prevented me from actually issuing these homework tasks and these assignments to help implement the change that happens during the sessions. The first one is that good coaching is about creating powerful conversations and insights. The second one is that clients should be taking their own initiative to be applying what we discuss during the sessions. The third one is that homework can feel like school, of course, homework from school. We all know what that was like when we were in school, and that adults don't want to be doing these assignments. And then lastly, that the breakthroughs happens only in the sessions, not outside of it. So these surface level stories are all well and good, but they feel safe for you. And there's a reason why they feel safe. They feel safe because it's focusing your energy on what you as a coach can control, which of course is in the conversation, rather than the client follow through, which happens outside of the sessions. It can also avoid those potential resistance that your client may be feeling, who might see any additional assignments out of the sessions as additional work that they have to do, already on top of a very full schedule and calendar. It also feels safe because it keeps the session feeling collaborative, with the two people working together inside that time rather than as a directive. And it can also maintain the illusion that insight alone creates the change. And I know you'll be coming from a good place, a very well-intentioned place with these type of safe and comfortable stories, but these are actually stopping your clients' progress. These are stopping them and holding them in place, because clients can have these powerful realizations during your sessions, but then they fade once they leave your door or once they hang up the call, and they fade by the next session. And as they go through their daily lives, the same old patterns and challenges can tend to resurface repeatedly. Then you're essentially doubling up your work in your next session as you come in. You're also keeping your clients stuck because the progress that happens is happening in sporadic bursts rather than in a consistent momentum that they're always moving forward. It's just these little bursts of progress. And most importantly, it's keeping them stuck because the transformation that they've hired you for takes much longer than necessary because there's no structured practice for them. It's just the session after session with no momentum between. Think about it, and let's get a little bit real here as well. When you've had a session with a client, they've had a powerful breakthrough, you have to remember, or they've got an insight, you have to remember that those insights will fade within 24 to 48 hours without any intentional application from the session, because life gets in the way. They get busy. They've got other things to focus on. So they fade within 24 to 48 hours. And when your client has had an insight and it requires a new pattern, remember that those new patterns require repetition in real context in their real life to become integrated into them as a whole human being. And your clients want structure and they want direction, not just questions and not just reflection. And I really want you to hear this last one. The space between your sessions with your clients is where the transformation that they've had will either continue or it will die. I had a client once who kept coming back to me week after week with the same problem. Very much about not getting love from her father, and it kept popping up in the work that she was doing, the business that she was running. And they would have a breakthrough in that moment. They would feel inspired, they'd feel clear, but then something would happen during those sessions where she'd come back and she'd have the exact same problem, and it was really impacting her life. My problem there was that I was helping them see the destination, where they really wanted to be, how they really wanted to feel, but not giving them a roadmap for the journey that they're on. The breakthrough for you will come when you realize that your job as a coach is not just to create insights, it's not just to create breakthroughs, it's to create integration. A human being operates at its best as a full, whole, integrated person. And integration requires a structured practice between the sessions. So with that in mind, this is how you unlock the real issue. And it's important to understand what's actually happening when you as a coach skip the strategic assignments that you can give your clients. To help you out with this, I've given you a bit of a framework here, and we're going to start at layer 1. And layer 1 is what happens at the session insight. So what happens during the sessions, your actual coaching itself. So the powerful realizations about the patterns, about the beliefs, about the behaviors, that's all brought to the surface. There's the emotional breakthrough which comes from it. That moment of clarity where your client is like, okay, now I get that about myself. There's the strategic planning that comes from it, and the goal setting, and there's the temporary change in your client's state and the motivation to take the next couple of steps. Then at the second layer, we're talking about the integration gap, and this is what happens when you don't issue any homework at all. The insights that your client has had fades in their daily life as their demands take over, as their responsibilities throughout the week, family, work, self, as they all take over and kick in. The old patterns will then reassert themselves without any new structure in place. The motivation that your client had starts to diminish without any concrete next steps. And then your client will return to your next session feeling like they're starting over, starting from scratch. And you as a coach will also be doubling your work because you feel like you're starting from scratch and the work that you did in the previous week has been negated. Then we have the third layer, and this is that bridge the homework gives. So I call it the homework bridge. This is how assignments create transformations. So you, with your client, will create specific tasks that practice these new patterns in real life context, in their own life. You're creating structured opportunities to apply the insights that they've had during your sessions immediately. We're not waiting, we're continuing the momentum. You're creating built-in reflections that deepen the learning that your client has had, and then that momentum compounds between the sessions. Here's an example for you, and we'll work through this together. So, say you're working with an executive, a high-level executive who kept having these breakthrough sessions around delegation, but returned each week still overwhelmed, still stressed, still doing everything himself. So there's a pattern there. Week after week, yes, he gains clarity about the importance of delegation to free up more time to focus on the bigger picture things. You identify the specific tasks to hand off, and he leaves with a renewed commitment. Week after week, he'd return having delegated nothing. There's the pattern. So this is the stage where we intervene. So instead of just talking about delegation in your sessions, you'd be giving him a specific assignment. So, for example, this week, you need to delegate 30 minutes, a 30-minute task to someone on your team. It cannot be you. Document exactly what you need to do, what you need to be delegated, and how you explained it, and what happened as a result. So you've created the assignment, and you've given it to your client, and you've given him a deadline to complete it. And on top of that, he's going to document exactly what happens as a result. This is where the transformation happens. So the first week, he delegated one small task and actually discovered that the real barrier wasn't knowing what to delegate. It'll be in something in his beliefs and how explaining it to someone will take way much longer than him doing it himself. Very strong limiting belief. So you've uncovered the belief. But this led to a completely different coaching focus around efficiency and development. So why does this work? This worked because not only was he starting to delegate now, you're issuing tasks that are going to assist your client between the sessions to do the things that ultimately needs to do. But more important, this task, this assignment, actually revealed the real issue underneath his delegation resistance, which pure conversation may not have uncovered. Action created insight that reflection alone couldn't produce. Okay, so that's all well and good, but I wanted to break it down a little bit further and give you a framework that actually works that you can implement with your clients between the sessions to make sure that you're not only setting the task, but you're setting good tasks for your client, and your client is going to be willing to be able to do them. So step one is creating the architecture for the assignment itself. So we need to get specific, like as we know about SMART goals, we need clear, concrete actions rather than very vague intentions. They need to be measurable, so they need to be observable behaviors that can be tracked and also discussed in the next sessions. They need to be time-bound, so you've got to give them a time that they need to complete it by. Defined within a specific time frame before the next session. You can't wait more than your next session. They have to be to create and continue the momentum after each session, and they have to be relevant as well. They have to be directly connected to what the insight and the breakthrough was in that last session. They can't be focused on anything else. Otherwise, your client won't do it, or they'll get confused about what's actually happening. Then in the next step, we have to think about the type of system you want to set up. And there's 3 different ones which you can think about. There's the practice assignments. So these are ones which rehearse the new behaviors in those low risk situations. Then we have the observation assignments. These are where you're noticing, or your client's noticing the new patterns without actually trying to change them. And lastly, and this is one of my favorite ones, the experiment assignments. So the experiment assignments is when you're trying a new approach. You're going to do something a little bit different and gather data about the results to see what your client does. Do they do it? Do they not do it? How do they perform? Then at step 3, we have to work in the integration design. So start each subsequent session by reviewing the assignments from the last one and the results. Don't go straight into something else or how's your week been. Go into reviewing the assignment from the previous week. Once you've got that, you can then use those assignment outcomes, the results from the assignment, to identify the next level of insights that your clients needs, because there's going to bring new insights, new beliefs up to the surface. So now you've got your ammunition for what you need to work on next. Then you can adjust your coaching direction based on the real world application data that you've got. Not what you think is going to be the best thing, but the actual real world data that has come from your client's assignment. And of course, we can't forget the last part, which is to celebrate the completion regardless of the outcomes. Remember, it's not about what the client does, it's whether they do it or not. The outcomes we can celebrate later, but you always need to celebrate the completion of the task assignment that you've given. Progress is in the practice. So as a couple of examples, you could get your client to send 1 email this week if they've been avoiding sending emails, or 1 phone call this week if they've been avoiding picking up the phone and trying to generate sales for their business. Maybe it's have 1 conversation with, like a difficult conversation that they've been avoiding having with a member of staff, or a conversation for clarification on a project that they've struggled to understand. You can come up with what you need to do, and only you will know in the moment what's going to be the best assignment for your client. But there's so many different things you can do. The point is that you're doing something. You're issuing a task to your client to continue that momentum. Now, with all that being said, I have an assignment for you. Go through your last 5 coaching sessions, review your notes, and see if you gave them an assignment. And more importantly, if your client completed the assignment when you issued it. If you're a new coach and you've never even issued a assignment to a client before, now is a great time to start. Go through your old notes and see what you can do and what you can issue in your next session with your next client. They will already tell you what they need to do, and you should know by now what they're not actually doing, because hence that's why you're actually coaching them. A really good idea is to create an integration system, like some type of template for when you're starting your sessions and the review of your assignments as well. So you can create your own templates around what assignments you want to create, what the review that you're going to have on the assignments in between each sessions. And these are really good guides to help you when you start a session, so you can go straight into it, and I can almost guarantee that you'll have something to work with during that session based on what comes up when your client is doing their assignment during the week. Now, if you're struggling with this, if you're struggling not just to issue your clients assignments, but if you're struggling to do your own assignments that you're setting for yourself or someone else is setting for you, and you're just struggling to complete them and you need some help, let me know. I'm always open for a conversation. I will invite you to a conversation if I think there's a way I can help you, but it's always up to you to make that first step. Part of my goal is to serve more people like yourself who are out there serving others as well. And if I can serve you to help you serve more people out there, then that's my goal fulfilled. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you did get some value from it, I will invite you to like the video, leave a comment below, share it, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.